Hi there, and welcome to the Volunteer Admin tutorial video. My name is Blake, and today I want to go over the Volunteer Admin page on HourThanks. So once you create your Volunteer Admin account, you can go to HourThanks.ca and access the login through the Volunteer Admin login. Once here, you'll be prompted to put in your sign-in credentials, which I'm doing here, which will bring you into your organization. Once you're into your organization, the first thing that you will see is your volunteer roster. So here's where you're going to be able to see all of the volunteers that you've added, invited, and registered, and thanked in a personal way. At the top, you can see your organization name, as well as your name and the email that you're signed in with. Here to your left, you can see the two functions of this page. The first is adding volunteers, so you can add volunteers to your roster, and the second is inviting those volunteers to register for HourThanks and the rewards in the community. So let's get started by adding our first volunteer. So let's say we want to add a volunteer by email. You can type in a volunteer's email here, hit add, and we see a success, which means that's an active email. And we go to our roster and we can see that we have added one volunteer to our roster. From here, we are able to select that volunteer and send an invite to them. After we confirm that we do in fact want to send this invite, that volunteer will successfully be receiving a personalized thank you email with an HourThanks code that will get them into the HourThanks app and the rewards in the community. Now, let's say you wanted to invite multiple users instead of just one volunteer at a time. A way to do that is through the CSV upload. So what you can do is upload a list of volunteer emails into our program, and this way you can add multiple volunteers at one time. So what a CSV looks like is in the first cell you would have the word email, and underneath that you would have a list of the volunteers' emails that you want to add to your roster. So I have that file downloaded here. It's a simple drag and drop, and once I hit add, I see another success. I go to my roster and I see that now we have 8 volunteers in our roster, and all of these volunteers have been added. Now let's say I want to invite the first 3. They're the ones who came to our event this week, or I want to invite all of them. I can select this. Anything you will know best for who to volunteer, who actually volunteered, and who you want to thank. So let's send out a couple invites. And again, these volunteers will receive that personalized email with the HourThanks access code to get into the rewards. Now there's another way to invite volunteers, and this is through sign-up codes. What a sign-up code is the same thing as the codes that will be sent in the emails, but this is a code that can be used by multiple users. So I've created some codes here, and I will go in and create another code. So let's create a new code. And this is going to be our code that the volunteers can use, and this is great for groups that are signing up together, or something like a newsletter or a poster that you want to hang in your volunteer room. This code can be used by multiple users. So let's say we want to customize this. So let's say HourThanks. I want to put HT at the start of the code. So there we are. And now let's say there are 20 volunteers that are volunteering at the HourThanks event. So that's great. And let's say we want this code to be active for 3 months. So if a volunteer forgets to check their email, they can still get this code and be thanked 3 months later. So let's activate this code. Now we can see this code is activated. This code can now be shared with your volunteers, and this will get them into the HourThanks app. Now, there are a couple of ways to share this code that we're really excited about. The first way is by creating multiple codes. So what this can look like when printed is almost like business cards or coupons. You can cut this out and you could share this in, you could hand these out to your volunteers at an event or in a thank you card. Another way that you can distribute these codes to thank your volunteers is through a poster. This is a really popular way for, let's say, hanging in the volunteer room or sharing at a volunteer event in the sign-in room. Another way that you can share these is actually saving this as a PDF. So you could save it as a PDF file, and then you can share this in a customized email. So let's say you wrote up an email and you want to say, thank you for your great work. Attached is a code to get you into the HourThanks rewards. So please enjoy and continue to keep up your great work. So let's go back to the app here. And just one last word on these. Again, it's super customizable for how you communicate with your volunteers. If it's a newsletter that you use, feel free to put this code in the newsletter, and there's a ton of different ways to get this code out to thank your volunteers and to remind them of how valuable and how much you appreciate the help that they give. So I'm going to close these up. We're going to go back to the portal. Here are all our active codes. And now let's go down here to our roster. We still have 8 volunteers in our roster, which is excellent. We can go into our search. We can check by status. And we can see, okay, here are all our invited volunteers. Here are our registered volunteers, which is none right now, but that's okay. And you can really filter on quite a few different filters there that can give you some insight into maybe which volunteer appreciation campaign was more successful or not. Was the poster more successful? Was sending this out as an email invite more successful? Which way are your volunteers feeling thanked and engaged with your personalized thank yous? So another cool function here on your roster is the remove or delete function. So let's say that this volunteer, while they were fantastic last year and they volunteered at many events, this year they've maybe graduated university and they've moved on to a new city. You can actually remove this volunteer from your account or from your roster. So we're going to prompt you with what's the reason for removing them. If they're no longer an active volunteer, we click that and we can delete the user. So now that user has been removed. There was also the ability to select a user or remove a user based on I do not recognize the volunteer name. So it's important to make sure that the volunteers that are coming into your roster are actual engaged volunteers in your organization and not a volunteer's friend who has got the code or somebody else in the community. So if we clear that, that really covers the roster and the main point of the volunteer admin page, which is inviting and thanking your volunteers. If at any step along the way you have any questions or have any great feedback that you'd like to share with us, we would absolutely love to hear from you. This chat function on the side is a great way to get in touch with us. We can be sure to get back to you within a few minutes if it's something pressing that you need a hand with. Or also any feedback that you leave here will be really valuable into helping us build out this HourThanks even more and to thank your volunteers in even more personalized and impactful ways. To continue to say thank you to the volunteers for everything that they're doing in the community and for our organizations. that is about it for me today on this video. There will be some more videos coming in the future, but for now, I wish you all the best. Continue with your successful organizations. Continue to thank your volunteers for everything that they do, and have yourself a fantastic day. Take care.